Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking time to be with this collective today. My name is Angel Palermo, and I'm the Senior Associate Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Mount Sinai. This is
Angel, can you turn up your volume a bit? Sorry.
Sure, thank you for that. Welcome everyone to this hour together for the 525 Day of Enlightenment, a moment to pause in honor of George Floyd. And we're hoping for this hour together, we can critically reflect on what we've learned and unlearned about race and racism and racial justice over the past year. Our process for the day is, or for this hour together is, in a moment, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Sean Lee. And then we're going to hear from a poet on all if Black Lives Mattered. And then we'll do some reflection and introduce sort of the reflection opportunity we're creating for all of us together for this hour. And then we're just gonna engage in a dialogue and debrief together as well and close out with an opportunity to connect at the end. So I'm gonna turn it over to Sean.
Thank you, Angel. Can everybody hear me good? Perfect. So I want to thank everyone for being here today as we commemorate the life of George Floyd, who was brutally murdered this day a year ago. What we learned from this or unlearned from this was that we had a lot to focus on within our society. When we look at police reform, social injustice, we were already dealing with COVID, losing people who were close to us, disparities in healthcare. And the mission that we took on last year as a task force was something that was very important. But today we want to talk about George Floyd. Personally, as a Black man, watching those 9 minutes and 29 seconds was devastating. I can tell you from personal experience, not every encounter with law enforcement is the best, but to see the blatant neglect of someone, the total disregard for human life made me fear for my son, my own life, for my other Black and brown colleagues who may encounter police going forward. So to be able to have this brave space, to be a part of the task force last year, and to have this moment with all of you is so important because it just speaks to the long road ahead we have to really make an impact on social injustice and what we can do to start here at Mount Sinai Health System. And with opening with that, I just want to tell everyone that this is a brave space. We want you to be transparent. We want you to reflect, and we want you to really take this moment to really embrace what happened last year and how that had an impact on you. And right now we're going to get into a very nice spoken word that I think you're all really going to like.
So before I wrote this poem that you're about to hear, I sat down with my pen in my hand for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Then second guessed myself, like, maybe I got this time wrong because it just seems too long for a man to have a knee to his neck. So I checked time again on impulse, pulse racing, chasing a logical explanation for the asphyxiation of another Black man at the hands of the men in blue who swore to protect and serve. I mean, I heard the man say he couldn't breathe. Now, to me, logically, that meant breath couldn't quite reach his lungs. He hung on for dear life as long as he could. But when the weight of the world's wicked ways weighs down on your throat, you would choke too. Rest in peace, George Floyd, gone too soon. And it seems like this happens too often. They off 10 in the last couple of months, like an aunt, Atiana Jefferson. We learned her name after she was killed in her own home playing video games with her nephew who had to watch his aunt die at the hands of who he thought were the good guys. I tried to make sense of this. Like, can you please explain to me how an EMT can be asleep in her home, shot after shot, a no-knock warrant warranted police to enter in the middle of the night? I fight to find justification for that situation. Rest in peace, Breonna Taylor, gone too soon. It's so messed up. We live in a society where in so many cases like Khalif Browder's, we're treated guilty until proven innocent. With no evidence, even evident, somehow we're still prime suspect. This system is backwards and broken. And I'm not joking or jiving when I say simply for riding with an improper signal can give off a signal for a cop to hold you for an hour-long traffic stop. Enough was enough when I saw my sister body slammed in handcuffs and placed under arrest. And yes, I can't attest with Sandra Bland's family that that was such an unnecessary tragedy. But you see, when in broad daylight for a broken taillight, a brother named Walter Scott can be shot in the back on video with evidence planted, should finally show what we perceive as straight is actually slanted and as crooked as some politicians. And through repetition, time and time again, we're losing our Black men to the pen, not for the offense, but at the hands of a great conviction rate. Prosecutor turns persecutor. If you don't have enough money for bond and you're merely a pawn in this game, well, we are the weakest pieces. You see, Black Lives Matter and start tiptoeing on that fine line around the time they introduce court fines and minimum sentencing guidelines. And how is it that the time we get is always what we deserve? But same predicament, different pigment gets them off with time served is just not fair. But you see, fairness took his last breath asking for reprieve using the words, "I can't breathe," by George Floyd or Eric Garner, another brother whose only crime was selling short Newports, no weapon. Mike Brown gunned down, Trayvon Martin and Tamir Rice, whatever they did, there were still some kids who deserved to live if Black Lives Matter. Then why are our hearts still being shattered as our ashes are still being scattered into the winds of injustice? I want you to take a second and close your eyes. For real, do it, close your eyes. Now, imagine you've been confined to an 8x5 for the last 30 years of your life. Now take a deep breath. What if I told you your sentence was death for a crime you did not do? Look up the story, it's really true. See, right here in Alabama, Anthony Ray Hinton could have been anybody. And that's as real as the man's misappeals for not copping to a plea deal if Black Lives Matter. If Black Lives Matter, then Laquan McDonald would have received one less bullet in his body than he did the number of candles on his last birthday cake. And as we lay in the wake of the Flint water tragedies, these modern day catastrophes from Freddie Gray back to the Genesis, it literally makes me sick to my stomach to feel I even have to pen this. But let me ask you something. If Black lives did matter, then why are our hearts still being shattered as our ashes are still being scattered into the winds of injustice? And that's that piece, JP the poet.
So we wanted to take a moment and check in. First, I hope everybody can just take a deep breath and exhale. And we wanted to check in and see who's with us for the hour. So we like to use Zoom, and Zoom is just an easy way for everyone to participate. So if you can go, we like to Slido, not Zoom, I'm sorry. So I think Leona's gonna advance the slide. And so just go to slido.com and enter the word reflections as the event code, or you can put your phone camera over the QR code. It'll take you directly to this question. And so we'd love to know, at work, we tend to identify with our work role, but we all know we come to work and with many other identities that are important to us and many roles in our lives. So feel free to share all the roles that matter to you in your life, at work, at home, and in your community. And so love to hear see what people's responses are. Feel free to also put it in the chat if you're having difficulty with Slido. Yeah. So you have mother, Muslim dancer, activist, an ERG lead, a wife, a daughter, a mother, a wife. Yes. So you see, this is a word cloud. So those shared identities get bigger and bigger. An aunt, a mother, caregiver, sister, nurse, leader, volunteer, director. It's really wonderful to see all the different roles here that we all carry in our lives that are important to us and others. All of our different social identities, lived identities. TikToker, all right. Trying Christian, thank you for that. Elderly parent. It's just really great to just see for a moment the rich depth of everyone here. 158 people together. Fun lover, yes. Queer folks, godmother, trainer, trans man. Awesome, so awesome to see all of this. Right. Youth leader, humble person, life partner to my loved one. So awesome to see all these identities and roles. Teenage child. Mm. All right. Shall we move on? Let's see. So we also want to check in and just really see, how are you showing up today, right? In one word, what is on your mind and heart? And you don't, and really you can enter as many words as you like. What's on your heart and your mind? Mm. Yeah, heartbroken, sad, tired, respect, concern, George Floyd, frustration, prayers for the future, Palestine, heaviness, tearful, hurt, learning, prayerful, why, anger, still not satisfied, impotence, burnt out, rage, Gianna, love, need for change and worry, lost, feeling empty. He did not die in vain, livid and upset in silence, open, change, emotional, tired of the senseless killings, reflection and silence, still not satisfied, empathy, trying to hope, too much. Yeah.
We have some in the chat here, prayerful, empathy, hopeful.
Sick of the oppression. It continues, rethreading justice and knowledge.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, overwhelmed.
Mm.
Yeah, need for peace. Numb. Spiritually exhausted. We just want to acknowledge that all of this is here and we're all holding it in different ways, on our heart and our minds. Thank you everyone for contributing. We can really be present to each other and what's on our heart and mind as we engage in this dialogue and reflection. So it literally has been a year to the day since the murder of George Floyd, and we wanted to create the opportunity to really have a deep reflection about what you have learned and unlearned about race, racism, and racial justice. For those of you that know Leon and I, in our Chats for Change dialogue series, this is a central question of the Chats for Change: is what do you have to learn and unlearn? And so we thought it would be really powerful to have a collective reflection, not only in dialogue, but also represented in another way. And so we took advantage of this software called platform called digital platform called Padlet, and put it out there to the community of Mount Sinai and said, share your reflections in your spoken words, poems, media, songs, videos, any kind of digital information. Share what's there for you using that reflection prompt. And so we want to just show you what folks have been submitting, and we'll put the link in the chat so that folks can also look at their own computer. It will be part of the reflection dialogue that we'll have together. And so what you can see here, if you, Lena, were you able to put the link in the chat? Okay, so if you click on the link, you'll be able to see actively people contributing. You can contribute if you haven't done so right now at this moment. If you hit the pink plus, the pink circle with the white plus sign, that's how you add a post-it, if you will. This is Padlet. It's really a wall of just everyone's reflections that have either chosen to identify themselves or not. But as you can just see here, there's all kinds of content that's been posted, images, videos, words, poems. And we'd really love for you to take a moment and take a look at it and take it in, really. The reflections are personal. They're about the work environment, the community, the world. Reflections are diverse and rich. And you even have an opportunity to respond to a reflection that's been posted. You can click on it and you can like it by hitting the heart, clicking on the heart, or you can add a comment right underneath it, as Leona's showing with her cursor, and you can respond and share. Just gonna take a moment just to scroll through so folks can get a quick glimpse of what's on the Padlet, just in case you're not able to access it wherever you are. Thank you, Leona. All right, so at this point in time, we'd like to break everyone out into random groups and share your reflections and post it on Padlet. So we'll put the link again, just in case it needs to be put in if you just joined us. And we'll put the breakout rooms. We're gonna go for 20 minutes. And we invite you to just reflect on what you've learned, what you've had to learn and unlearn about race, racism, and racial justice. And if so moved, please put your thoughts on the Padlet, and we look forward to debriefing when we get back.
We'd like to open it up just for some themes that maybe emerged in your breakout groups, any insights that you think that you would like to share here. Also, what was that experience like? Maybe what came up for your group in your dialogue. So, and feel free to unmute yourselves. You can put it in the chat. You can also use Slido. So there's many ways to hear as many perspectives and voices as possible.
Want to add that the Slido responses are anonymous. It's not attached to your phone or email or your name. So feel free to share freely. If you have a raise the hand function, just in case there are a lot of people that want to share, feel free to use that. We'll just try to get everybody participate. Valerie.
Hi, it's Valerie from HR. I had the privilege of meeting Anita Ragsdale, Natasha Skeely, Judith Prasad, and Colin Daly. We had a wonderful discussion about the fear of family and raising their children in this environment, and the real threat that they feel every single day, the hope and change that today brings for us, but the reality and reflection. It was an absolutely wonderful discussion, and I was privileged to be a part of it. So thank you. Thanks, Anne.
Anyone else want to add? Dialogue going, right? And learn from each other. We talk to each other.
Sean.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and put my colleague and friend Frank on the spot. I think he said something that really resonated with me, that maybe the real impact on change will be in the youth, because they have not had any past experiences or PTSD to cloud their judgment. In kids, they just see each other and they get along with each other for who they are. And maybe, you know, our generation or the older generation is probably a little too caught up in what they may have been through to really see that change through right now. But if we are able to talk to the youth and make sure that they understand exactly what it is that we need them to do, that could help. And I know I'll leave it for Chats for Change, because I am not going to get into critical race theory, but we did bring that up a bit about the debate on that right now. But we know that could have some sort of impact on that. But I'm going to leave that to the experts.
Sean, this is Lindia. We discussed that a little bit in our group as well, but we did acknowledge that even though the mindset might be a little bit different, as long as the systematic changes are not made, that it would still be a struggle. So both need to happen.
Absolutely.
And we were also saying that we like to feel that way because we live in liberal New York City, but you know, there's still middle America and how people still think differently. So not to be blindsided by, you know, real progress.
So this is Frank. To Sean's point, I just wanted to add, he actually said it very nicely and eloquently. I was a lot more doom and gloom. I'm just disappointed and discouraged, and to the point where I just don't see it happening with the current structure that we have in place, whether it's our legislators, whether it's our government. I just don't see the real change happening in my lifetime. And so that's where I'm at right now. And again, as Sean already alluded to, where I see the change coming from is our youth and the younger generation. I think change is going to have to happen with them, because what we currently have in place, I just don't see it happening. We've tried all different ways to implement the change, whether it's peaceful protest, but that doesn't work either, because they're aggressive when you protest peacefully, and then they wonder when you don't protest peacefully. Like, nothing's acceptable. Nothing's acceptable. So there definitely has to be a lot of changes. But again, not to be doom and gloom, but it's just how I feel.
Thank you for your contribution and your voice and representation from your group. Are there other perspectives or that haven't been shared, or topics that were discussed, insights and themes that we would all benefit from hearing?
A few things, hi, it's Maylee. So a few things that came up in our group was, the importance of remaining hopeful, and how, having these uncomfortable conversations and humbling conversations, being in a position to be humbled by what we don't know, is part of, I think, the first step towards healing and towards understanding. And that's, that's more impactful, because we would be able to leave those experiences as allies, not only for ourselves, but for others. And another thing that was very prevalent in our group was that this is very emotional. It's very emotionally taxing, and that, as some people in the group were mothers or aunties, and had to come to an understanding of how do they teach their young sons and daughters how to interact with authorities and others, because they are different. So those are some of the things that were discussed in our group.
Thank you, Melissa. Any other insights or?
I see on the screen, Leona, about we already changing. This meeting would not have happened on May 24th last year. And we did say at the beginning of our group session that we're appreciative that Sinai does have an outlet, if you will, or outlets, and environment that is conducive to having empathy and having a safe space for us to have these conversations, and that they are trying, to make a change and make a difference. So I'm grateful, because I've been at a number of organizations, and this would not be happening. My husband is in 2 offices away from me. His company is not having anything. A lot of organizations don't do anything like this. So I'm very appreciative, and our group was as well.
Great, thank you. Any other kind of final thoughts before we come to a close? It's already an hour. Actually, Michelle just put in the chat. Wow, that flew by. Yeah. Angel, were you about to say something?
Trouble with my mic. Can you hear me?
A little bit, yeah.
Sorry. I was just curious about folks' reaction to the reflection wall, and if anybody had an opportunity to contribute.
I liked the person who put the "Change Gonna Come" by Sam Cooke, because while that song is so impactful and hopeful for change, it reflects pain. And I think it embodies the journey that we've been on and we continue on, because as much as we're hopeful for change to come, we know that there is the high probability of being knocked down, of being exhausted along the way. But, the whole potential to not give up, I think that's what keeps us going. And the only thing I can ask of everyone who's attending here is that you not give up and you continue to participate. Make sure you attend and chats for change. I'm telling you, those conversations are getting very, very beneficial and informational. And that's my thought.
When Joe, I had asked Leona this, I think the reflection wall is fabulous, and we should get it out wherever we can get it out, put it on our website, and encourage people to use it. It shouldn't be just today, right? It should just be something that's there, and kind of along the lines of what you said, Sean. We want to keep the momentum and the thinking. It just shouldn't be today, and then we go back to whatever it was we were doing prior. So whatever we can do to help promote and get the wall out and share it throughout the organization, because today's a small subset of the organization, but we want more people to see this.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think it would be great if, to continue the dialogue, you could share the wall with, your peers and colleagues and the people that you work and learn with. And you can use that as also a platform to engage in more dialogue. I know somebody said, how do we continue on the conversation and not just end today? So you can always use that. And of course, there's Chats for Change. Sean has done already a plug. We put the schedule in the chat as well for those who don't know the different topics that we have. And so everybody, Sinai community is welcome. And I think we're gonna close out. So I'm gonna ask everybody to put their cameras on if they haven't already. And it would be great if you could put your screen on gallery view, which is located in the upper right-hand corner. If you put it on if you put it on gallery view, then we can see everybody's faces in the little boxes, and it would be great to have everybody's video on. I'm going to read something out loud, which is visioning, and I really encourage you to try to look into each other's eyes. Of course, this is a virtual platform, but perhaps you can find the faces and the eyes on the screen and engage them as best as possible. And so I first welcome you to get comfortable and ensure that you can make eye contact as much as possible. And you can also go through the different screens if you want, or maybe you can find somebody that you know and maybe just virtually make eye contact with them. And then I ask everybody to please stay on silent as I read this out loud. So I want you to first, I'm inviting you to close your eyes for 1 second, take a couple of deep breaths, get comfortable. And I invite you to open your eyes and to look at each other on this screen. And if you feel some discomfort or an urge to maybe laugh or look away, just note that embarrassment and be patient and just come back to trying to make eye contact with people here virtually. And as you look into each other's eyes, let yourself become aware of the powers that are here right now, even on this virtual platform, the gifts that might be hidden, the gifts that might have brought you here to Sinai. Notice the strength and the potential here. Behind those eyes are unmeasured reserves of creativity and endurance, of wit and of wisdom. There are gifts here in which each person is unaware. Now I want you to consider what these untapped powers can do for us, for patients, for our communities, for the world at large. As you consider that, let yourself become aware of your desire that each person here be free from fear, violence. Let yourself experience how much you want people to feel safe, respected, and able to be fully expressed unapologetically. Know that what you are now experiencing is great kindness. I invite you to close your eyes again, return to yourself, and tap into that kindness. Perhaps take a few breaths, a moment to also reflect and to honor George Floyd, to honor this day of enlightenment, of coming here together. Now open your eyes and to also connect with each other again. Try to look into each other's eyes and let yourself become aware of the pain that is here. There are sorrows accumulated in a lifetime and a journey. Let yourself open to that, to perhaps the pain and the hurt that each person may never have shared with another being. What you are experiencing is compassion. I want you to take a few breaths. Try to make eye contact as best as possible on this platform. And consider the ways in which you might want to take risks, work together, learn together, support each other, exchange information and lived experiences. Imagine the boldness, the excitement, the action, the trust, the joy of us coming together. And from this place, what do you want to commit to? What are you standing for? What will you learn and unlearn as we close today? On behalf of ODI and the Racism and Bias Initiative, thank you for coming and sharing and reflecting.